My name is Rahul Sharma. I've been in the corporate America for 20 years, transforming people, transforming leaders, and ensuring that people who wants to move to the next level, they take steady steps. It's all about taking steps. We all may be great individuals, but if we have to the next level, we have to work as one team.
Ever wondered what it's like to have an offshore team working for you right here in the Philippines?
I work with a Canadian client. Nesda provides me everything from workstation, a stable internet, and HR support, and a team that feels like family.
Working with Nesta's workforce outsourcing team is fast-paced, exciting, at times challenging, but that's exactly what makes it rewarding. It's an opportunity to collaborate with people from diverse culture, gain new knowledge and skills, and be part of a team that supports clients across the globe. We are Nesda Workforce Outsourcing.
Thinking of expanding your global team? Email us at contactus@nesdaglobal.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the ConfidentLeader podcast, where we share stories of leaders moving from invisible to becoming an influencer. I'm your host, Rahul Karan Sharma, where I bring amazing guests to share their stories. Today, I have a pleasure to introduce you to a host of Mission Matters series of show, which is ranked top 2.5% of the podcast globally. As a co-founder of Mission Matters, a media, branding, and book publishing company, our guest is dedicated to amplifying the voices of entrepreneurs, entertainers, executives, and experts. An international speaker and an author of multiple books on business and investing, his advice is featured regularly in major media outlets such as Forbes, Yahoo, Finance, Fox Business, CBS, to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adam Torres to our show. Welcome to the Confident Leader podcast, Adam. How are you doing today?
Hey, Rahul, man. I'm excited to be here today and excited to create some content together. Let's do it.
I'm glad that we are making it happen. And we will talk about your mission matters in a later segment, but tell us about your leadership journey from where you were and where you are today so that we get more closer to your journey.
Yeah, so thank you. And one of my big purposes and reasons that I come on shows and I enjoy guesting is because my goal through telling and sharing my story is that I want to help and inspire others to hopefully get out there and to start creating content. I want other people to create podcasts. I want them to write books. I want them to get out there and tell their stories because I feel that everybody's voice deserves to be heard. And really, creating content has completely changed my life. So I started in the finance industry. So I was managing money. So I managed a couple $100 million. I built that business over, 14-year career. And when I wrote my first book, I didn't even want to write a book, Raul. It was interesting. My one of my mentors, he's like, you got to write a book. I'm like, I don't want to write a book. And at this point in time, I didn't really know what creating content meant. So my attitude, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I was like, man, broke people write books, but I don't want to write a book. Like a $5 product doesn't make sense. I'm moving like millions of dollars, right, in investing. So I'm thinking like that's, kind of a waste of time. But my mentor was like, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. And I'm like, all right. So I did. And the very first book, for those that are watching the video, you can see this is Money Matters. It was a very, very first book. It's still on Amazon, but it was just one of those things that, okay, I thought I was just checking a box off of a list and just getting it done and going through the motions. But then, man, just, by the grace of God, I mean, I'm not claiming I had it. I'm trying to fulfill and steward the things that have been given to me, including my story, the good and the bad things of the story. But things started happening. Like people started reaching out to me on LinkedIn and on other platforms. And I found myself on speaking tours as far away as China. And that was just completely a new world. And really, that's what opened up my eyes to the possibility of helping others and to helping them tell and share their stories.
Wow. what a noble cause you are doing, because I truly agree that everyone has a story
Mm.
and everyone has a right to share the stories. How
And
you
now we
were
do. We didn't always have the right, right? So
correct,
that's a
correct.
that's a luxury.
Absolutely. And just like you, how you thought that why should I write a book? I'm not a writer. Why should I share my content?
Yeah.
But sometimes we ourselves, we don't see the inner self. What we think could be a piece of cake could be a very, very meaningful change for someone. I'm sure, Adam, it would not be a cakewalk, as I just mentioned, just to write a book and to move
Hmm.
from where what you were doing in the financial industry and what you're doing today. What kind of mindset shift you had to go through to really strengthen yourself and really come up with this cause of
Yeah.
helping people, millions of people, to share their stories?
Yeah. For me, I think it was more so, so sometimes people have these limiting beliefs and other things that kind of hold them back from doing things. For me, I don't allow myself to get that far in my head. And this is going to sound kind of silly, but it's just the way I operate. I prefer and choose to create systems and execute those. Like, so that's
Mm,
just my goal. I don't, if I have to start thinking about something, I'm not going to do anything, Ro. I'm like, if I had to
mm,
start thinking about creating that book, I wouldn't have done it. So what I
mm,
did was I created a system around getting that book done, and the system was simple. Whenever I was traveling, at this point, it was just 9, 10 years ago or so from now. So there was an app that I used to use to record. And every time I was traveling, I wrote down a bunch of different topics. I would just talk on that topic. So I created a
mm,
system around getting that book done. Like now you look at our business now and what we created. I've done over 6,000 podcast interviews. This year I'll do over 2,000 podcast interviews. Now, if you were to, that's 40 years of content, 40 years of content that I'm doing every year. And again, over 6,000 interviews in. So if you were to tell me like what would my mindset need to be? What would that shift need to be so that I could accomplish that? I would say I'd have to be crazy. I can't have a mindset shift for that. Because I wake up sometimes and I don't want to do interviews, or I'm like, I want to go back to sleep. I don't want to do anything else. But what I do is I have systems around that so that my calendar's already full. Today I'll do 15 interviews.
mm,
And it's harder for me to cancel and reschedule all those interviews than just to do them. So
mm.
mindset shift, it was more so building systems and executing them. If there was anything, it's just trying to stay really loyal to your word. Like that's the thing. Like you make a commitment to
Wow.
somebody, and some people have waited, they're waiting 2 months to come on the show. So if
Mm.
you have somebody waiting that long, and I'm excited to have them on the show and they're excited to be on there, like you show up.
So, listeners, for Adam, it was more about building that system,
Yeah.
and that really moved the needle for him. So it's not always that we need to make those mindset shift.
Yeah.
There are at times where you just have things around you, as Adam mentioned, the system.
Mhm.
The system will make things happen for you, and
Yeah.
that's what Adam and his team is doing to really help professionals to bring out their stories.
Yeah. And
Now,
I know, and by the way, I know you're a mindset coach. And so I'm not saying that mindset doesn't play a piece of it. I'm just saying that I'm not that good. For everybody else that's out there listening, I'm still working on my mindset today, this morning. I'm like, tomorrow, like,
no, no. I think Adam mindset has become a buzzword, honestly, today, where
Mm,
everyone is thinking and talking about it. But it's not only about the mindset. Even if you
mm,
have the right mindset, but if you don't execute,
yeah.
all that mindset shift or mindset change will not do much.
Mm,
So it's what I really admire about what you mentioned is more about executing it, and
yeah.
execution sometimes can be very heavy task for us, and that's
Mm,
where we need those systems that you created to really make things happen.
yeah.
Our listeners normally comes from corporate world, Adam, who are very busy executives, work 9 to 5 over probably in 8 to 12 hours, and they never think about building their own brand. They never think
Mm,
about building their own network because they are very much in their comfort zone. They are very much doing what they're supposed to do,
yeah.
hitting the numbers, getting that bonuses and W2. So those people who are listening and who have never thought about building that brand or building that story, what would be the practical advice you would give to them
Hmm.
so that they can start working on creating their authentic voices and
Hmm.
boosting their self-confidence to be more like a visible leaders?
Yeah. Well, first, if somebody's kind of on the sideline and they're not thinking about it and they're like, ah, that's for other people, that's not for me, or they have these preconceived notions like maybe it's all ego or it's this or that, or people want, look at me. I would say you're in good company. That's where I started. Like when people first start talking about building brands, writing books, doing podcasts, I was like, oh, that's crazy. That's for people that just want attention. Like, who cares? Like, why do you need that? Like, go to work, execute, build your company, whatever you're doing, and and raise your family and be a good person. Like, do you really need to, like, if you don't, that's just the way I thought. Like so I thought in a very certain way. But what I didn't realize, and some of the people watching this now, just so you know, it's not too late. There's still plenty of time. But if you're hearing this now, hopefully this will be a little bit of a mindset shift for you. When I really woke up to the idea of how important a personal brand was and building a brand was, I was still a financial advisor. And this is about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago now. And I remember somebody did a post on Facebook, and this was happening more often. And they did a post and they said, hey, I'm looking for a financial advisor. And does anybody know anyone? And so what they did was somebody that I knew, a mutual friend, tagged me in it and said, "Oh, go talk to Adam. Adam Torres. He's the best, whatever." And so, or something like that. And for everybody watching, by the way, I no longer manage money. I haven't had licenses in like 9 years, so don't contact me about that. But I just want you to know quickly. But that being said, the person that did that initial post, they sent me a message, a direct message at that time, and they included their investment statements. 7-figure account.
Mm.
Never met me, never talked to me, nothing. It was a friend's recommendation digitally on Facebook. They Googled me, they looked at me on LinkedIn, they looked at my profile, and I didn't even have a big personal brand. And boom, they sent me the statement, and it was 7 figures. And they said, "Hey, I'm looking for an advisor, XYZ, ABC. When can you meet?" They already made a decision. So
Mm.
then I realized, wait a minute, like I don't even have a good personal brand or anything big. I just have some, basically a resume on LinkedIn. And from that alone, I'm getting a 7-figure statement, like, and of assets. Like for anybody that's out there, like building business or anything else, that's not easy. So this isn't just some random small account or some random kid. This is somebody that's built some wealth and is an intelligent person that's making a conscious decision. So what I realize is that buyer preferences changed.
Mm.
And now, since buyer preferences changed, I'll tell you this, and this is funny. Before I started my firm, so I don't have this firm anymore. I exited that already. But at this point, let's just say I was under a big box name, a big brand. So and under that big brand, once upon a time, you would use that big brand as your branding. And that's who would be like, oh, I work for this company, and that's why you should do business with me. And what I realized is as buyer preference changed, people want the people that were buying from me and that were my clients, they weren't coming to me for the big brand. They were coming to me for me and for the relationship. Now, the big brand is very helpful because they know everything's secure and there's less education on that piece of it because they trust it which makes sense when we're talking of investment
Mm.
firms. There's trillions of dollars at this company, right? So they feel confident in that, like law of the numbers, the big numbers, of course, which is valid. But it was to the point that I believe so heavily that I was already starting my branding thing before you were allowed to do it. So the firm, I remember them telling me like, hey, you're not, you can't be posting this kind of stuff or you can't do this. And this is when now it's not like this. Now you're able to do a lot more on LinkedIn and other things because finally the financial firms have wrapped their head around it. But I was one of the first back then. And so I was like, okay, well, what's your concern? And they said, well, I don't want you to you can't go out there, put out this type of content under our, because then it's going to reflect on our company and on the entire brand, which you can't do that. And I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. I said, so what if I take your brand off? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't need your brand. What if can I do that? And they're like, well, if it doesn't make mention of the firm, I said, okay, I'll put financial advisor at Fortune 500 company. That's it. I'll write that. No company mentioned, nothing else. And so then I did get approval for that. And guess what? I was way ahead of that curve. So, and the only reason I'm telling this story is for those that are at big companies now or other things like that, just understand this. Your personal brand is the one thing you're going to have every day of your life while you're on this earth, period. I moved to another company, you change industries, you do anything else. That's one of the things that are going to happen. Like your personal brand is going to go with you.
Absolutely. That's not going anywhere. It will be going with you all the time.
Yep.
So that was a great move, Adam, where you really took the permission from your employer,
Mm-hmm.
ex-employer rather, and made it happen. And that really put the trajectory of your path in a very different direction.
It
So
really did.
kudos to you. Now, I know when we were chatting earlier, you are very much fascinated about this concept of entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
where the company is building leaders within, they are building entrepreneurs within their
Mm-hmm.
organization. So tell us more about your thoughts on entrepreneurship and how an organization can sustain that commitment over a period of time.
Yeah. So first off, I didn't realize that that was even a word or a thing until I was already what I call an accidental entrepreneur, and that's when I
Mhm.
left my companies and I started my own thing. But I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just thought I was making money, so I didn't really know this whole concept of entrepreneurship. I never wanted to be one. I never like. In the last book that I wrote, the book is called Driven, and in that book, it's literally I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. And circling back to the concept of intrapreneur, it's essentially I just think of it as it's when you're wired to do the best work you can do for the company in the exact seat and position that you're in. And when I think about my career, I wasn't trying to be an entrepreneur. I was just trying to help the company and do well. I always figured that if the company's doing well, I'm going to do well and I'm going to be promoted. And that was part of my career. I would say every 2 years I got promotions no matter what company I was at, like clockwork. And that kept me growing, that kept me achieving. And then it kept me doing more. And I didn't even know it. It was just I was always excited. I was always interested. I'm a team player and I wanted to see everybody do well and I wanted to succeed in my role, whatever that role was. It could have been bottom entry level. It could have been, rising up in ranks and managing. It didn't matter. I just wanted to do the best I could. And so what I think differentiates, let's just say your typical employee versus the entrepreneur is it's when you start thinking further than just what you're asked to do. So I'll
Mm.
give you one quick example. We had at one of the large companies I work for, they spent like maybe like a year, 2 years on creating this entirely new compensation plan, and they had this lead system, we'll say, and just to kind of simplify the example, they had a lead system, and when you receive calls and you hit these other metrics, you would get a certain amount of points, and for those points is what your bonuses are based on, and all the other things. Now, everybody else took that as face value, but myself, and what an entrepreneur does is I was trying to poke holes in it and see where the gaps were, what didn't they see? Because probably this huge company, just like most other ones, are going to, manage the majority of that. You can only get the people on the front line involved up to a certain point. It's not saying they weren't very thoughtful. They didn't get opinions. They didn't get surveys and all the other things from the front line. But ultimately, it's still the higher ups that are making the decisions. And there's always going to be a form of disconnect there.
Mhm.
And so even with pilots, there's going to be a form of disconnect because whoever's part of the pilot may not think the way that you do. So it's okay. I'm not saying they did anything wrong. But as soon as that lead system was unveiled, in about a week, I'd poked all the holes in it, and I presented them a plan for something better. Now, obviously, this didn't go over well. They're like, Adam, come on, this is like we've been working on this for a year, 2 years now. All these people, all these resources, and you're saying you have something better. And I'm like, well, I'm just telling you that it's missing some things. And what was missing was that the leads weren't weighted. So I told them immediately where the flaws were. And so based on their system, I said, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ethically and within the confines of all your rules break your system. and I'll show you how it can be done. And the problem is nobody's going to be extreme like me, but you're going to lose around the edges by all the people that are doing this and gaming this, but they're not going to take it to my extreme. So you're going to lose a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources. So I'm just going to break it up front so you can fix it, because it's not that hard to fix. So within 3 months, I had gamed the system ethically and within the constraints of the rules, just like you're playing a video game or something else. Within so the point to where I didn't have to do another day of work for the rest of the year, and I would have still finished #1 in the entire company.
Mm.
So they realized really quickly, and there's public leaderboards. So when you see those numbers that high, it's like, okay, wait the lead. So what they did next was very smart. They promoted me, probably quadrupled my salary, and moved me to another state, and then changed it to what I said, waited the leads. So I was very much rewarded, financially, ethically, within what I wanted to do. So I was rewarded, and and the company, I'm sure, has benefited greatly from that. And that's what an entrepreneur does. And that's how you move a company that has trillions of dollars of assets.
Wow.
From one seat, one person.
So our listeners, if you are thinking that you have become invisible or your company is not giving you the path, create your own path. Look at yourself. Are you just doing what you're being told to do, or you are really going above and beyond and really helping the organization to move to that next level? That's what Adam did with his previous employer, and that's how he got benefited out of that project that he did. Now, if our leaders, aspiring leaders or seasoned leaders, Adam, they are listening to our episode and they are thinking, wow, what a great story. What 1 or 2 steps they should take in maybe next 30, 60 days, Adam, that will allow them to really foster that entrepreneur culture? Because it's not that it will happen overnight, but there has to be some great minds need to come together and put that practice into play. So what would be your 1 or 2 practical advice for those leaders who really want to inculcate that entrepreneur culture?
Well, the first thing I do is I think about like who you're having conversations with at work, like period. So who are you talking to? Like, are you talking to individuals that also have kind of that spirit? Like, who are you having lunch with? Like, what's your daily conversation about? Is it anything new? Are you having conversations with people from other departments? A lot of times people get a little complacent. They go to lunch the same day with the same person. They have the same conversations, and they're almost like on this treadmill of the same. So how do you need new ideas, you need new inspiration. The way that you do that is by talking to new people, especially within the context of your organization. So meeting new people, networking, talk to a department you have nothing to even talk about, like you didn't even know about. Like, so I was on the sales side at one point, and I made it a point to talk to have lunch with some people from operations. When I've been when I worked in the small business department, when I was working in that kind of thing, I made it a point to have some lunches with people that were in the enterprise side of things, because there's a lot of cross learning, and especially depending on the size of the company, like people are siloed. They don't get out of their departments often enough because work is busy. And it's understandable, right? You're already overloaded. So maybe you're already working at your desk and you're like, how am I going to go do that? I'm barely taking 20 minutes now or half an hour now. Well, I mean, this is if you want to cultivate that entrepreneur mindset. If you keep yourself in that same exact mode, then where's the inspiration going to come from? Where's the creativity going to come from? And it doesn't. And when I use that word, I mean in business. I mean, it could be from a creative accounting. I mean, anything. Like you can put creativity into any problem and solve it. So that's what I'm talking about there. So I would say, to kind of wrap that up, Ro, make sure that you're talking to other people and feeding yourself fresh and new ideas. At work, at home, books, podcasts, like make sure that you're adding new ideas and you're having new conversations. And then finally, when those moments of inspiration come, act. Like on the story that I told you about myself, like nobody was excited that I had some ideas about their compensation plan and how the leads were. Are you kidding me? They were mad at me. like,
Mm-hmm.
what, who's this guy? And I was like, I'm just showing you like how this is and this and that. And then what I also did is I helped others understand how to use the compensation plan back better. So I not only did it for myself, but for other people. So that's like when you're giving at the same time, like good things are going to come from it.
Mm. Yeah, so great pointers, these golden nuggets being dropped by Adam. So if you are a leader who really is looking to inbuild that kind of a culture, encourage your team members to listen to the positive literature podcasts, encourage
Hmm.
them to talk to different people within the different department,
Yeah.
encourage them to go an extra mile in their day-to-day job rather than just doing what they're been asked to do. Ask them to see how they can challenge the current process, how they can
Hmm.
really make sure that their way of doing things could be better. So focus on those aspects, and I'm sure in time to come you will be able to make your people more an entrepreneur, and you will be able to see that culture coming in. So thank you, Adam, for bringing that up. Now, before I let you talk about your mission matters, I wanted to take your inputs based on the work that you have done. You have interviewed at so many places, talked to so many leaders. So
Mm.
I wanted to seek your input on our climb framework and see how that resonates with you as you are
Hmm.
working across all the leaders. So our framework, Adam, is based on two major components. One is confidence, another is collaboration. So these are the
Mm.
two major components. And what we have seen is that every leader moves through different stages in their career, and these
Hmm.
stages are they are invisible to start with, then they become potential, then they become achiever. From achiever, either they lead to burnout, or if they are able
Hmm.
to successfully navigate, they become an influencer.
Mm.
So these are the four stages. Now, when you talk to people across the world, do you see that leaders moving from these stages, or have you seen, can you spot names in your mind? You know what? I met this leader. He could be in this stage.
Mm.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I can think of if I was to segment people, I would say that many people that I've interviewed that are, especially in the startup community, I think when somebody gets to after their first startup or second startup, whether they purchase, whether they exited it successfully or it was closed down, and let's just say it was a learning experience. I won't say a failure because there's always learning there. I'll say that I think these individuals definitely move into that later stage of influencer. And I think people come to them more and more for ideas, for components, to form executive staff, whether it's C-suite, whether it's founders, whether it's co-founders. I think that this space plays very well in that. And I think, like, kind of, I guess, taking it a layer deeper in terms of that concept of influencer, I think what's interesting to me about even that whole concept is once upon a time, influencer meant like you were influential, like you were a person that could be a certain thing that people counted on. Now, though, even just that whole term, when we think about what social media has done, it's kind of skewed it a bit. It can also mean many other things. It could mean that you have a big following. You get that you're able to move product just based off the content you create. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're somebody to be influential, other than maybe what you're known for. So I think these specialties have kind of changed that
Mhm.
piece of it and that silo, which is super interesting to me. By the way, when people use that word with me, I'm like, nope, not an influencer. I'm like, no, I'm just a business guy. I'm just an entrepreneur. And nope, don't give me all those other titles or this or that. I'm just building a business and recording content. You call me a podcaster too, but I don't really go by any other titles. But I do like examining that word because words do evolve and the meanings evolve over time, which is super interesting for me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your input. Appreciate it. Now, let's talk about your mission matters. So give us
Yeah.
sneak peek of what this mission is all about, and our listeners, if they're inspired by your mission, how they can work with you, how they can connect with you.
Yeah, it's really simple. So my aim and my goal is I just want to inspire others to share their stories. Like that's the aim, that's the goal, that's what the project started with, and it's called "We Amplify Stories." That's our slogan, and it's pretty straightforward. My Instagram, Ask Adam Torres, if anybody's interested or curious about things. On the media side, we do quite a bit of production and distribution. So as a company, we've launched over 250 podcast shows now, and we're still launching them every week. So if people are interested in learning about podcasting, anything like that, like shoot me a DM. Again, Ask Adam Torres. On the book publishing side, if you're watching the video, you probably noticed I held up like 2 or 3 books. That's one of the things I do. We've published over 400 authors now. So on the publishing side, we do quite a bit, and we're always looking for great stories from business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, and other people that have stories that they feel need to be heard. We're always looking to hear things. So again, just shoot me a DM, Ask Adam Torres, and then on the media side, you'll see like I mentioned before, I'll do over 2,000 interviews this year. So if somebody's I like to say we give out and more free content, whether it's ebooks, how to start a podcast, how to write a bestseller, all these different free ebooks or actual other books or otherwise. We give out more free content than I believe any other company of our size on the planet, like period.
Great. And the mission matters. Just don't think that you need to focus on this when you are running your own business. Yes, running your own business, being an entrepreneur, definitely you want to become that public figure or influencer. But even if you're in corporate world, it's not just about creating your own brand at work, but creating your brand after work. Because more and more you connect with people outside, you get to know what's happening outside your organization.
Yeah.
You get to know what is working, what is not working. So don't think that you need to start building your own brand once you step out into an entrepreneur role.
Yeah.
Even if you are a leader in the organization, focus on building your own brand, show your authority and connected with companies like Mission Matters. I'm sure you will be thanking Adam about what transformation he and his team can bring on you by bringing your stories live, by bringing your credibility, by bringing your trueness, your knowledge to the global population. So thank you, Adam, for making that happen and making it very easy. The system that you have created, that really makes a difference. So thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul, and appreciate you having me on today. It's been a lot of fun, and just keep up the great work. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, before we let you go, we have a fun rapid fire round, Adam, and we want our audience to get a different sneak peek about you.
Yeah.
So there are 5 questions coming your way.
Come on, I like this rapid
right.
fire. I never do rapid fire on my show. I got to start doing more rapid fire. I like this concept. Go ahead.
All right. A quotation you live by.
Do what you can with what you got where you're at.
Awesome. Are you a morning person or a night owl, Adam?
Both.
Okay. What's one daily routine you never skip?
Coffee.
Coffee. And what's one leadership skill you wish someone would have taught you earlier?
Collaboration.
Collaborate.
You're one of your big C's.
Yes. Finally, if your career were a Netflix series, what would the title of season 1 be?
Runaway Train. Oh my gosh, I got another podcast episode coming up.
Well, that's have been a blast to hear you, to share with our audience about the mission matters. And I'm very confident that what you're doing will really make a huge impact. I wanted to share my learnings from the show. And listeners and people who are watching us on YouTube, now it's time for you to mention your takeaway from today's episode. For me, it's all about creating a system. It's just not about thinking and planning. It's creating a system and executing it. You will see a tremendous result coming in. Another learning I had is that buyers' persona is getting changed. The way they buy things is changing. And what Adam mentioned, that just one referral on a social media platform created a new line of business or created a different thought process for him. It's very, very important for you to build your own personal brand, build your own credibility sooner than later. And that is never too late. So you can start today as well. Entrepreneur, as Adam mentioned, he has defined it very simple in a very simple language. If you are able to do things which is beyond what you have been asked to do, you are an entrepreneur. And sometimes we are too harsh on us. We may be doing it, but we don't think that is the kind of work. And once you are an entrepreneur, your mindset will be different. You will be thinking more from an employer mindset than an employee mindset. And for building a culture of entrepreneur, ask your people to connect with people from different departments, connect with new people on a regular basis, connect with positive literature, podcasts, news, or shows, so that they are thinking positive, their mindset is positive, so that they can take positive action. With that said, it was a great fun here, Adam. Thank you, and wishing you all the best in your future endeavors. It was a great time here. So thank you again for being on our show, Adam. Really
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Raul. Appreciate you.
Thank you.